Well, I am like super excited for this panel. This discussion, I should say, because there's not panelists. We're going to wait for some people to come back, but I am always excited to spread knowledge. That's part of why we even do this in the first place, and to help people to just like know more. You know more, you can do more, it can be more. And so we are super excited to have Ahna with us in a space that you have had such a hand in actually creating. Anna is one of the founding members of AA Labs and started as a producer and is now the Chief Experience Officer. So I think there's like two roles that you even play here. You're going to tell us everything about Web3 and the Metaverse and 101, a little bit about this space, but also just your career journey and your path to get here. I think it's really important because we just had so many conversations about people either losing jobs or leaving jobs, people graduating soon, just really thinking about the career paths. And we've heard so many different ones that have been really beautiful from all of our panelists. You started your career, Anna, in marketing for environmental engineering consultants. So I think that that's even just like super awesome and amazing. And you'll share with us a little bit, hopefully, of how you ended up getting here. And I love that you love Broadway and film. I am in this phase of my life. My son just 21, and he's like watching all of the classics, which just makes me feel older because that's the terminology that we're using for these movies. But yeah, we're excited to have you and welcome everyone. I will hand it over.
Thank you. Yeah, I saw a meme the other day. Well, I guess it wasn't a meme, but if anybody's familiar with American Girl dolls, they have the retro collection, which is the 90s. And I about had a heart attack because I was like, that's not retro yet. But yeah, I'm starting to see that more and more. But welcome everybody to AA platform. I know you guys have been in here doing a few panels prior to this discussion, but as you can see, it's a little different way to kind of interact and get to know different spaces and people. So through this talk, I'm actually going to try to get you guys more involved than just sitting and listening. I'm all about active participation, and that's what this platform is built to do. So we'll start off with a few kind of icebreaker moment here in a second. And then we're going to actually jump into a room that I built that some of you have already jumped into and kind of talk about the metaverse in a different way and what it is now versus what it could be, and kind of talk through different elements. So hold on to your hats and glasses because I intend for this to be a fun end of day session. So is everybody ready? Give me like a thumbs up emoji or a wave or a heart or something. Let me know you're alive out there. Awesome. Perfect. So a little bit about myself. As Verda mentioned, I did start my marketing career in environmental engineering. It's a very different field than the gaming world that we're in today. But one thing it does teach you is the idea of how do you take these difficult processes and distill them down into something that other people can understand, right? So I was working with refineries and chemical companies and being able to say, okay, the big flame that comes out of a refinery, what does that actually do? It combusts things. And then, okay, got to explain to people why combustion is good and why it's, not bad and all of that. And so what that's allowed me to do is to understand technology. And when we look at a product like this, we try to think of what do we do in real life? Real life is amazing. Real life is cool. We should never try to replace that. But there's times where we can't be in person that I'm sure all of you guys are from different areas around the country, if not the world. I think I saw some stuff earlier. And so, how can we be together in a more interactive space allows us to feel more emotionally connected versus being, just kind of stuck in a box like you are in Zoom. So as a company, we decided to build AA. We were historically a live events company, but we realized that there was a missing piece about the 5 million people at home, not the 500 people in the room. And so this is, our goal is to really be a catalyst to build a community. And we'll talk about kind of today what that actually looks like. And the idea of a world that is more immersive and more fun and engaging than a normal typical call is something that we want to build. So take gaming principles, but bring them down to a level that is actually for the common man to actually use. So during the pandemic, how many of you guys were on Zoom? So if you were a Zoom person, go to the left side of the room. If you were a Teams or Google Meets, go to the right side of the room. Everyone kind of move around here. See what people were using. We got Zoom on the left, we got Teams and Meets on the right. Perfect. So as you can kind of see through the breakdown, right? Some people are like, I used all of them, so they went in the middle. I'm guessing what that this middle column is. Um, you know, one thing that we learned is that everybody now has this kind of base level of understanding when it comes to video conferencing and interacting online. If you're a gamer before, which many of you are, you were clearly used to, two-hand controls, whether it be a controller, going into worlds, putting on your headset and talking to your friends online. Like all of that was very comfortable for you. But for the average person like my mom, who teaches fourth grade, I got so many phone calls being like, my kids can't hear me. What do I do? All these different things. And so people have had a lot of change. But we still know that, Zoom is not the best way to communicate. And so we think of this idea of the metaverse that then comes out of that of the baseline of Zoom and being able to just video conference is what's the next level of ways to think about things, and that specifically is the metaverse. This open forum that is more immersive. A lot of people think Ready Player One with VR headsets, all these different things, and that's what we're going to kind of explore today is like what is the core of the metaverse and Web3, and how does that all kind of play into our everyday life for now? And then how do we see this eventually going into the future? So it's a very long preamble. I apologize. So we'll kind of get into it. So before we jump into kind of the fun side of the presentation, I want to kind of understand what you guys know thus far about NFTs and the metaverse and kind of Web3 and all that type of stuff. So we're going to do a few more left and right side of the room to kind of get you excited, get into this topic. So let's start with NFTs, hype versus reality. So hype is on the left side, which means that it's not true. Reality is on the right side. Yeah, I said left side. Yeah, yep. And the reality is on the right side. So if this is a hype, go to the left. If it's reality, go to the right. So NFTs are $1 million piece of digital art to just hide away. Is that what an NFT is? If it's true, go to the yes over here. No. Or if you don't know, go in the middle. NFTs are $1 million piece of digital art to hide away. The answer is no. We want to have things that we put money against. We want to actually provide to people to see and to do things with. How many of you think that NFTs have no value when it comes to a business solution or you as a creator? NFTs have no value. Yes, they don't have any value, or no, they do provide value. Or people in the middle still won't commit to the side. I get it. Trust me, I get it. All right. NFTs are a trigger word. That is a great point, Yali. When I talk about NFTs, I'm specifically talking about buying crypto, getting something for it. That's what my definition is, and we'll come out with that. And then NFTs can just be copied and pasted, and they don't have to be backed by the blockchain. The blockchain is not important. Go to the right, the blockchain is not important. Go to the left, the blockchain is very important. Where are you guys all standing on that? Oh, only a few people think the blockchain is important. Interesting. All right. All right, now let's jump to the word metaverse for a second here. Metaverse requires you to be a gamer and wear special glasses or have special equipment. Yes, if metaverse is only for gaming. No. Yes, no. Good, I like the nose. The metaverse is not just for gamers. Um, the metaverse should be for everybody. Yes or no? Yes on the right, no on the left. The metaverse is for everybody. Yes or no? Okay, perfect. It is. Oh, some people don't think the metaverse is for everybody. Interesting. I'm interested on that hot take. All right. So I wanted to see kind of where you were at today with your idea of the metaverse and Web3, and then we're going to kind of jump into it and kind of describe and talk through things later. So if you have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. I'll kind of look at it throughout the time. Also, friendly reminder, if there are surveys in the lounge before, don't go now, but after this, we'll have you guys go take some surveys in and around your experiences today, okay? I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. So I want to jump into a different space. We've been in this space for most of the day. It's very beautiful, and it is, but I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of the gamification side of the metaverse and how we can have these type of moments in a different way that we can all access together. So if everybody will click on this pipe called the next room, you'll understand why we're going there and down a pipe. All right, I'll see you guys in a second. All right, let everybody get in here. All right, we got a few people still coming in. No worries if you clicked preemptively, it happens. Got a few more stragglers. We're almost there. All right, while waiting for the last couple people to come in. So I wanted to create a room that had us rethink about ways that you can experience online meetings and how we define the metaverse. So most people, when they think about it having to be this big VR experience, very Ready Player One. I gotta go into this 3D world and kind of walk around, and that's the pie in the sky definition of what we think the metaverse is today. And we're all still defining it, right? All of you are part of that discussion that we're constantly having. But the one thing to think about is that it's just another way to be more immersed in the type of content that you have. So as I walk through today's presentation, instead of showing you slides like someone normally would, I want you to join around and click on things with me. Now, one thing to note, when I show you where to click, you will be the only one that actually sees it, okay? You're having a singular experience while doing this, and it will show up in the room. So you can definitely click around while I'm talking on other things, but I ask that you do pay attention because there are some fun stuff in here that we're going to do. And this is how you could do a presentation and get people's feet wet into what the metaverse could actually be and offer for the near future, so that you're constantly educating people along the way before we jump into that full 3D world that what we all think of what it should be. All right? So you guys ready to have some fun with me? Give me some emojis. I'm a feedback person. There we go. Got some interactive people. I like it. All right. So first off, let's talk about just kind of the progression of what Web3 actually means. So down here, we're going to click on the first question mark. And I did this with my team the other day, and I made them all go whoop and then click on it. So you can join me in the fun. Oh, I lied. That's not the right one. It's this one with the star. That's why I started. All right, start up here with the star. So go whoop and then move over somewhere else. It's going to pop up a window talking about what Web 123 is. One thing we're working on building in this product is actually when you do that, it will make a sound effect. But for now, I feel like you just have to make it with your mouth. All right. So if you don't want to stand on top of the question mark, though, so other people can click it. So we'll move people around over there. So what is Web 1.0? So it was, think about the first computer, where it was read-only, very text-focused. You had a desktop browser, but it wasn't really good for much. You could have the beginning start of e-commerce. We had our MSN, Internet Explorer first came out around that time. So it's kind of like the basic internet dial-up, exactly. Web 2.0, though, we think about became more participatory, I can say the word, where we started seeing social networks. It was mobile first. Things were always on, very cloud-driven, right? AWS really began coming up with how do we do virtual computers these days. And so we're really living, and people are really comfortable with the Web 2.0 that we have today, which is the social connection that we have. So when we think about what Web 3 offers us, it really offers us the next level of interaction, which is those immersive experiences. But when we talk about it, we also want to think about how do we build a better internet, right? Because it works functionally for how we use it today. And so we're also always talking about like decentralization and how do we get it back into the hands of the users. Also, how do you validate what you own? So this backdrop that we have in here was free for use. I did clear that, but it's, if someone built this and you can copy and paste or screenshot a tons of different things online. So when I asked the question about, is an NFT just a fancy screenshot of something? That's what a lot of people think, right? Because it's not backed by anything when you just take a screenshot. You just get access to it, and not always correctly. And so this progression of Web 1 through 3 is where, we're trying to get people to understand that we want to think about more immersion and how do you own your actual data moving forward. So the second question mark down here, if you click on that, you'll notice it gives you a Metaverse timeline. So when we think about Metaverse, this topic came up in 1996 with Snow Crashers. It then kind of kept going along. And when we think about Metaverses, Sims, a lot of people have played that, right? That could be a type of Metaverse. When we think about Roblox, there's obviously huge dollars going into building communities within that space. But the problem with some of these gaming style of what we call, metaverses like Fortnite and all of that is you have to buy into Fortnite. Anything that you put in the world is owned by Epic. You don't have the ability to take things out of it. Versus a world like this, everything that you see is something that I put in from my computer that I owned versus it wasn't gated by what Epic, has within Fortnite. And so the timeline that we're working with is as you keep going further and further along, you're being able to see more open ecosystems that are allowing you to use what you already own and pull in and aggregate things versus having to always start from scratch. I think it always sucks. You have all these great skins that you get in Fortnite and you put a lot of money behind them, right? But it doesn't transfer to any other game. And so how in the future could that be one system where you can bring them in, upload and export, and be able to actually use your stuff? Or Lee, exactly, Jillian. That's such a good example as well. And a lot of people, when they look at this product that you're in today, they go, well, this is Club Penguin, if you're from a certain generation. And so people are used to these type of gamifications, but they're not used to seeing them in their everyday life. Typically, you have to download this huge package, or you got to buy the game, or all those different things. And so how do you create a metaverse or a world for the future that is easy to access? And that's what, my goal and my what I want to do as I educate people about it is I'm all about frictionless and access. Club Penguin, yeah. So when you think about also visually, when people say the metaverse, you think of these big 3D moments, which is not a bad thing. So if you guys click on this guy right here, that little question mark, you'll notice that I give you some visual examples. Second Life was kind of this first big metaverse idea that people were used to seeing. Decentraland, obviously, they're backed by crypto and Web3. People are buying land in there, but they're not. They're only having an average of maybe 600 users a month or more going into Decentraland. So they're not getting people continually coming back, which is something that you want out of a site that you're going to build and put money into. You also have things like Gather, right? Very 8-bit top-down that are more for your B2B working situations. How can you create a community within a space online that people at work can have those kind of water cooler conversations, if you will. Again, we kind of mentioned Fortnite, right? It's a very specific 3D design. Ours, we've purposely built this on a 3D engine, but we're using it as 2D because we want you guys to be able to easily move around and click and learn on things versus having to figure out the two-hand controls. My mother would not be able to do that. Trust me on that one. And then in 2023, there's a game coming out called Forgotten Runiverse. And this is specifically all built on the blockchain. Everything you buy gets added into there. You can track it and sell it. And then ultimately things will be transferable to other things on the chain as well. And so people are reimagining and rethinking how they kind of create these communities. And really when I hear the word metaverse, I think metaverse equals community. As you can see, as I put here in the clouds, Web3 equals community. So with that being said, when we think about Web3 being a community, we want to provide immersive experiences that are tied to products and to NFTs. It's not enough just to have a space like this or to buy an NFT. How does it provide value to your customers or to your brand, right? That's super important. I think also when you think about community is how do you turn your current customers or your followers on social media into evangelists for you that are going to help you promote not only yourself, but your partnerships and other things that you're working with. And the only time that they'll do that is when they feel that they're part of a community and that their voice is actually being heard. Also, a space like this helps you draft new audiences. If it's fun, if it's interesting, you have the ability to garner more people into your crowd versus it's really hard, as many of you know, to get new people interested in what you in what you're doing, right? Especially if they're on the fringe. It takes a while to build them through that marketing funnel to get them down to the bottom part, which is the loyalty and the advocacy side of it. It takes a lot of work and effort. So how do you have a fun space like this that will naturally guide people into doing the community? And so the other thing is we want elements of a world that are high engagement. How can, like for product launches, for other things of that nature, we want people to feel like they have things to do in a space. There's nothing worse than, at least personally for me, I go to a bar and I get bored. Like, yeah, you can drink all you want, but like, what do you do when you're there besides talking to somebody? Which is also fine, but like people, some of us need things to do. And that's where a metaverse comes in, and it gives you an opportunity to let people click around, have fun, be able to, when we put spatial audio on, be able to have different groups and conversations just like you would in real life. And also, how do you make it meaningful? Something you're going to remember. I have a feeling tonight you're going to remember that you were in this room. If you remember nothing else that I say, you'll at least remember that you had a good time and you had something fun and visual in that meeting that you had this evening. So Web3 is really all about bringing together a community in a way that people are going to enjoy themselves, that's more immersive, and it's more meaningful. Whether it's backed by the blockchain or includes NFTs or all of that, it doesn't matter. It's really about the next step of how we currently interact today. But one thing I think is super important is, what are brands actually wanting? A lot of people ask us as a company, hey, how do I get influencers in front of brands, or what are brands wanting and needing out of like the metaverse space, and kind of what are people asking about today? So if you click on Mario here, he's going to tell you brands are really searching for their place in the metaverse. They're doing a lot of trial and error right now, trying to see where they can find their community to help them become more of those advocates. So these are quotes from clients of ours that we've worked with. Nike. They've been doing monthly webinars using different tech platforms, and they're still not sure what Metaverse is, but they've clearly just opened up those the new Swoosh Metaverse and with digital collectibles and all of that. So they're doing the NFT play, which is basically people can buy a shoe NFT and potentially get a shoe online, and vice versa, buy and trade, kind of getting that sneakerhead, which is that super community when in a world. Paramount, they're like, we don't want to deploy another platform. It requires too much rev share. How do we get our audience actually onto the new platform? We already know they're dispersed among all these different social medias, and we don't own them on those social medias. But the idea of a metaverse and ownership is a big deal for us, and we want to do it right. So we need something like Web3 to help us. And then Dell Technologies, is that they need to connect what they build back to measurable revenue and value before they invest in something. And so they're not ready to spend a ton of money in this idea of metaverse either. So then why do we keep talking about it, right? Why is it a big part of our conversation? And I think it's because people are craving community. They're craving an engagement in a way that feels meaningful because we are more and more stuck at home, or like online for work at least. And we're seeing that, travel budgets are getting cut and all these different things. And so how do we still have meaningful connections with our coworkers, with our friends, with people that aren't near and dear to us in like the vicinity in a more, again, meaningful way? And so Yali asked, what do you say to those who are worried about the metaverse taking away that human connection? I really think that it's not about taking away human connection. It's about adding more to it, but in a different format. Because again, real life is amazing. No one should be trying to do something different. If your version of the metaverse is putting on a VR headset for 22 hours a day, like that is the wrong vision that we have for ourselves. We're way further down the wrong path than we thought, right? The idea is it's supplemental to our everyday life. You guys hopefully maybe don't video game 24 hours a day unless you're doing a fun charity stream, because we need to get out there and actually talk to real people. So how can we use the metaverse to help people feel more comfortable to go out, whether it's replaying a scenario if you have social anxiety and how to learn that, or whether it's meeting up every week with your therapist in a space that is comforting if you can't be there physically. It has a lot to offer us that we need to define together and ensure that we're not losing that human physical connection side. So when we talk about brands and what they're needing with the metaverse, I gave you guys a few community examples down here. Both of them are videos. Feel free to watch them at your leisure. But two of the clients that are using this style of metaverse for their communities is YouTube Shorts. So they wanted a place. They have 5,600 plus YouTube Shorts creators that are spread all over the world, the country as well for that number. And then they have ones in APAC and EMEA and all these other regions. And they need a space where they can bring their creators together and be able to talk about, just like we are today, what they're seeing, how to make better content, how to collaborate with people. There might be someone from, Maine that will never go to California and meet this person, but they can meet online digitally. And so how do you create these moments and experiences? And that's what, again, the metaverse is about, that community and building it together. The second example in here is also the Cavaliers for basketball. They have, super fans from all over the world, but there's not one place to get information where they can meet other fans. If I move to Zimbabwe, I don't know anybody else there who might like the Cavaliers, but if I had a community that isn't, I could go and we could have meetups and all of that and actually get to talk to people, I could form real relationships versus everything just being through talk and through chat. So just wanted to give you some examples there to watch as well. Another big thing about when we think about the metaverse and Web3 is also this idea of driving sales, right? So a lot of brands specifically, anything they do has to be revenue producing, right? As creators or influencers, you also are looking always for ways to monetize. And so this first question mark here is really thinking about, like, from an NFT perspective, it's not enough just to create and mint them and to sell them. They need to have utility. If I just get one to put in this wallet and never show anybody, or it doesn't provide any value to me, we are, as humans, are the ones that give value to things. And so at that point, no wonder people don't like NFTs a buzzword, because they're useless in a lot of ways. But if that NFT was your ticket to an exclusive event, when you buy a Gucci purse, you get one on, and then you get to go to the Gucci experience where only 100 people get to go, and it's super exclusive. You get to meet some, famous person or talk to people about your love of fashion. Now it has utility behind it, and it lets you actually be able to do something with it, right? It could be a ticketing system. It could be part of your loyalty program. It can be that PIN number that gets you into certain things. So how do you create these digital assets that give you more utility around things? Also, when you think about, I guess I put that in there twice. Sorry, we're driving sales twice. Also, when you think about, driving sales, AI comes into play, right? When we think about the future with Web3 and the metaverse, AI is going to take a huge piece of it. Obviously, right now, we are talking a lot about ChatGPT. How many of you guys, give me an emoji if you're a ChatGPT fan? No one likes ChatGPT here? Okay, I've got a few hang looses. Okay, all right, I've seen the emojis coming in. Nice, nice. Yeah, I mean, it's super interesting. You're able to tell it to rewrite something for you. Oh, you don't know what it is? All right, so ChatGPT, look it up. It's basically an AI that you can feed in information and say, like, here's a sentence, shorten it, make more fun adverbs, and basically it will start to write things for you. We did it the other day with the pitch deck. I put in a sentence and I say, can you shorten this to make it more sense, right? And so AI is a huge thing, but we're still trying to figure out how to use it. So we know that in the future that our metaverses are going to have more AI in it, whether it be, Digital Humans, which is a brand that does specifically like AI tech support. And so those are different things that, we got to think about as we're creating the metaverse for the future, is how do we pull in the new things that are going to keep coming like AI into a world, and how do we define it? It does write resumes. I have seen it work in that way. And I agree, it is a bit scary at times for how AI is going to, quote, take over the world. But you got to remember, back to that human-centric question, humans are amazing. We're never going to replace us, right? And so we have to consistently think about each other and how do we build a real community and not just one full of AI bots. Excuse me. So those are kind of the main points I wanted to talk about today. I know I kind of hit on a lot of different topics, but I wanted to kind of keep it broad, as I'm not sure of everyone's, points of what they know about the metaverse. But really, I think the biggest takeaway for me and for Web3 and the metaverse is that it really needs to focus in and around community, and it needs to focus on immersion and how do we continue to create experiences that are exciting for people to join, have meaning and value to them, right? It's not just talking for talking's sake, but also allow people to learn the way they learn best through active participation versus just passively, listening to different elements. So I did put a few other fun things in here. There are a few fun facts. Feel free to click around on different elements. You never know what you might find. I did put the deck in here of some of the slides that are in here to also show different things that our product can do, such as downloading PDFs. Flying Mario here has them. You can watch videos. You can click around on different elements. So I'm going to open up the floor to different questions. You can put them in the chat or feel free to go off your mute and ask away. Anybody?
There were a few in the chat while we're waiting. Share those.
Yeah, if you could remind me, I may have missed them along the way.
Yeah, and I may have. I took a little break, so you might have answered them already. How would you? It says NFTs are such a controversy in the. How would we implement these into our community that's user friendly? What do you say to those who worry about the metaverse taking away the human? Might have addressed that. Then we have someone who is currently going to school for computer science at my degree. I want to move from my hometown to closer to the job that I want, which is Monica, but it is too expensive right now. Do you know how to go about getting a job that you want, move to a place that's less expensive? Oh, I'm in and out.
Yeah, I found the ones you're talking about. So,
okay, great.
Yeah, I heard,
there were just a bunch of questions.
Yeah. So nobody talked a lot about the human connection side of things, so I'll jump from that one for a second. But the NFTs are a controversy in the gaming industry. How would we implement those into our communities that's user friendly? Yeah, I mean, I think in general, I have one or two NFTs. I think they're a bit gimmicky at the moment for most people. Hence, that's why they don't feel user friendly. Also, I don't know how many of you actually have a wallet set up. Anybody? Give me a wave or a hands up. Give me an emoji for if you have a wallet set up. 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so I mean, even half the room, if not more, I have a bifold. Love that. A lot of people don't have crypto wallets set up, right? Because it's a barrier to entry when it comes to using NFTs. Even people like Warner Brothers and the DC network, right? They work with a company called Palm Studios that you can set up a wallet through, and then you get exclusive, cards and things that you can trade, but they don't really do much for me right now. So I think it's okay to not necessarily implement them unless they have value or they have a purpose. Now, the one that I'd be interested in that they mentioned coming out with for DC specifically is Lord of the Rings one, where if you are one of X amount of people that have it, you get exclusive behind the scenes to some of the new Lord of the Rings releases, and that's a true nerddom moment. But there's a core group of fans that would really want something like that. So maybe I would spend the time to set up my wallet and to actually figure out how that is. So how do you, one, make it easy for people to do? That's the number one thing for brands trying to implement. 2, what value is it actually providing it to people? And then, 3, make it exclusive so more people will be interested in doing it. And I think then that actually makes sense to start using NFTs. And I think people are going to start figuring out other ways to put more value behind them in the upcoming future. Your uncle gives you Bitcoin for Christmas? That's amazing. I don't think my uncle would know how, if I'm being completely honest. Has anyone heard anything about NFTs or Web3 in general being accessible, or is this still a new phenomenon that accessibility is kind of on the back burner as they focus on development? Mariah, when you say accessible, are you referring to like screen readers and more like the ADA compliant side of accessibility, or more like just general getting access to them? General access, yeah.
General
I mean,
access.
they are. Yeah, no, I think they are pretty open to general access, at least NFTs. I mean, you can go on OpenSea and you can buy and sell right there through their how-to stuff. So I do think that they are available. You may just have to know where to look. And that's part of that education process, right? If there's so many out there, which one do I go to, right? There are 3 or 4 big wallets that people use, or there's 4 or 5 types of cryptocurrency. Which one should I invest in, right? Right now, I don't know why they say any, but I mean, that's the thing, is that there are a lot of differing opinions out there, and so it's finding someone who's super knowledgeable that can help guide you through it. I think is step number 1 through community events like this. I will say I am not the queen of crypto. I know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to advise on it. It's not something that I've personally gotten into a ton. Let's see. It's not smart. Yeah, TL talking about AI. It's not smart on its own. It'll continue to learn as we put stuff into it. Exactly. So data in, data out, garbage in, garbage out. So that'll be something that'll be interesting in the future to see how some of these new AIs, what they'll be spitting out. There's already some lawsuits about libel by them saying certain CEOs and things of that nature. It's basically spilling disinformation. So that's a big concern right now as well when it comes to AI. And yes, that is how we get Ultron, and we've seen it play out in Marvel movies, so we obviously have to be careful in how that works. What other questions, y'all? Feel free to also just call them out, go off mute if you'd like, or put them in the chat. Do you see blockchain as a benefit to the gaming industry or a detriment? It's a good question. I think, I'll do a cop-out answer. It depends. I think really if we can implement blockchain is helpful because it makes you know who owns what, right? And I actually own it. It's kind of like that idea of a screenshot earlier, right? I think it's going to make it more complicated though, and it's going to cost more to make games if everything's going to be on the blockchain, especially as new as it is. I think we are years away from having true need for it within the gaming industry, and there's still going to be a lot of R&D in and around it. So I think for now, it's a nicety, it's not a requirement, and I don't think people are familiar enough with how it works for the end user to really care. I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, because it's such buzzwords and hype, everyone thinks it's happening tomorrow, but really we're like 3-5+ years away from that. Obviously, you have to plan for it when you're looking at your larger, production schedules and marketing dollars and all of that. But we're really not in a place yet where this is going to become mainstream. It's a lot about education and defining right now. And once we get better definitions, then I think it'll actually be helpful for gaming and for a lot of other things as well. We're already seeing it really helping when it comes to supply chain, right? We're able through blockchain to know like where your coffee's coming from. Is it being ethically sourced? Where did it stop along the way? How can we shorten that? All of that is supporting and helping right now in smart contracts and more in that type of industry, but I don't think it's quite ready yet for the entertainment industry like people are trying to make it. Personal opinion. Yeah, exactly, Tia. I agree with that. And the chain ownership and verification of IP is great, but the con is the access is just not equitable. 100% agree. And that's really what we're talking about with the metaverse as well, is that someone asked earlier, how do we make it more equitable? And I think it's by creating more spaces that don't require super duper computers to play games on, right? More mobile friendly. DC Fandom, they did a thing during the pandemic where they opened up all these different kind of cool insider back access looks, and almost like 95% came in on their phone, right? Versus computers. And unless you have a computer heavy job, teens today, Gen Z, they're using their phones. Is Gen Z teens? We'll go with it. they're using their phones. So the more and more we do has to be accessible via mobile, not via, these large, massive computers that a lot of us use for gaming. All right. Well, I'm not going to hold you here. I'm sure some of you are getting hungry if you haven't already gotten your food or eating or have plans tonight. But wanted to at least give you an opportunity to ask. Friendly reminder, take the survey in the lounge. Again, I'd be remiss if I didn't say so. My team would shoot me a bad emoji. But I'll hand it back to you, Berta.
Okay, so can everyone join me in the photo gallery, please, as we close out the day? Join me in the photo gallery.